We'll call the meeting to order. This is the Port Clinton City Council meeting for November 10th, 2020. Is there a motion to dispense with the opening items and proceed to roll call? Ms. Phillips? Yes?
Madam President, Mr. President, I would like to recommend that we dispense with that initial and make it a little easier getting to our program. I will second.
Motion, thank you, Mrs. Hickman. All those in favor say yes?
Yes. Yes.
Anyone opposed? No, motion carries. Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Gabe Belo,
Here.
Pat Hovis,
Here.
Beth Gilman,
Here.
Roseanne Hickman,
Present.
Brian Hill,
Here.
Margaret Phillips,
Here.
Jerry Trolley.
Excused. Council, you received by email the meeting minutes from our October 27th City Council meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as stated? Ms. Phillips with the motion. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you, Ms. Gilman. All those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Chair notes and certification has been received from the clerk regarding compliance with the rules and notification in the calling of this meeting. Before we get to the guest presentation, there's only one item on the agenda tonight as far as legislation, ordinance 2620, up for its second reading. There's no request to consider that any further or move it tonight. So it'll be the guest presentation, executive officer's report, and then anything else we have to say here, so we can focus most of the time on the infrastructure presentation here. We'll move to the guest presentation with Pogmeyer Design Group, Mayor Snyder. Mayor Snyder.
Thank you, Mr. President Pro Tem. Good evening, everyone. With me today, I do the short straw, so I'm going to do the yeoman's bit of the talk, and then they'll get into the details if there's any questions. But from Pogmeyer Design Group, we've got Doug Newser, Jack Jones, and the Sloppy Joe eating champion of Bowling Green, Ohio, Greg Telecki, with us this evening. I want to thank these fellas. They've been working with us for the past 18 months. It was April 11th of last year when we sat down to first talk about this. And what I'd like to bring everybody in the community up to speed on is where we've been, where we are today, and where we're going to be in the future with regards to our infrastructure project throughout the city. When we first met, the concept was one giant project to start to address the infrastructure needs of the city. The thought process here was, if we're going to fix, for example, streets A, B, and C, and the water lines and so forth there, if you live on streets D, E, and F, you're probably not going to support it. The thought was to take this concept to the voters that would involve both underground work and fixing those streets, and then universal paving of all the rest of the streets. We held a series of public meetings around town, and it was very evident from the very first meeting. Two things actually were very evident. One, that council has the ability to take action, and the folks said, we all know this, that intended, we all know this has to happen, so let's just, council, just do it. And then as Pogmeyer started to look at funding sources for the big project, they realized that because of the amount of paving that was required, there really weren't too many funding mechanisms out there. So as we progressed our way through these public conversations, it evolved into two projects. Project A, above ground, and Project B, below ground. Together, A and B have had a napkin, back of the napkin estimate of costing between $20 and $22 million for the city of Port Clinton. And yes, that sounds like a lot of money, but at the same token, the estimate of the needs of the city of Port Clinton with regard to the infrastructure fall in the $120 to $130 million range. So we're just now attempting to scratch the surface of the overall need of the city of Port Clinton. So what is Plan B? Everything below ground. Setting in the spine, not everything throughout the city, but setting in the spine to build off of in the future. New water lines throughout the key areas, sanitary, storm sewers, and then the accompanying roads that are impacted by that construction. And then a late addition to the game has been issues that have arisen along Lakeshore Drive with the high water and the erosion and the flooding. That was added to the program as it seemed to fit with the sanitary sewer aspect of what we're looking at. Again, back of the napkin, as we were talking to the public in the meetings, a new concept of EDU, equivalent dwelling unit. And later on, I'll ask the guys from Pogemeyer to give a more scientific definition of what an EDU is. But in a nutshell, it's a very equitable way of charging people for water and sewer, and it can be equated to this particular project. And again, back of the napkin estimates, Plan B or Project B was about $13.03. And again, going to the vote of City Council to implement that. And again, that $13 did not include anything along Lake Shore Drive, again, because that was a late addition to the discussion. Plan A, then, of course, is all of the roads not impacted by Project B. The intent is to take this to, looking at about $7 on your property tax, putting it to the vote of the people. When I say $7, you always hear the $100,000 home, appraised $100,000 home equates to about $7 a month. And again, taking that to the vote of the people sometime in 2021. During this whole process several months ago, we presented this information, this general back of the napkin information to City Council, and you guys took action and said, okay, Safety Service Director, we want you to get some more specific numbers, contract with Pogemeyer, have them come out. People may have seen around town the surveyors doing what they needed to do all over town to get the numbers that we're going to talk about tonight. So from a water standpoint, you see that amount there. From a sanitary and storm sewer, you see that amount. And then again, the $2 million to address the issues along Lake Shore Drive, and the potential to get some matching funds to offset some of the additional costs there. So for Project B, we're looking at just over $16 million as an estimated cost for that particular project. So what does that equate? Again, as we talked about EDUs, there's water EDU and sewer EDU. And one of the questions I've been asked is, why are there two separate EDUs? If you will, look at it this way. We all know the Port Clinton School District is bigger than the city of Port Clinton. But all the kids in the surrounding townships come to the Port Clinton schools. The Port Clinton Water District is the same way. It's bigger than the city limits of the city of Port Clinton. There are people outside the city that pay a water bill to the city of Port Clinton. Likewise, there are people outside the city limits that pay a sewer bill to the city of Port Clinton. Those maps aren't the same. They're each a little different. So as they were doing the back of the napkin estimates, you'll see here they estimated the EDU value for the entire water district, the entire sewer district, to get us to that $13 figure. In reality, there were much higher EDUs as Julie from our water department got down to brass tacks and started inventorying every single property in our water district and our sewer district. I mentioned that EDU is a little bit more equitable in the way it allocates funds. It's all based on the use of the property. As an example, we're all familiar with the new gristmill here just around the corner from where we're meeting here at the Yacht Club. As a gas station, it has a certain EDU. As it transitioned over to a bar, the EDUs transitioned as well. Another example would be downtown with the Hirschberger building. Right now it's 5 office spaces. As it transitions with the new owner, their EDUs will change as well based on the usage of that facility. So as you can see, although the cost of the estimated cost of the project went up slightly because our EDUs are where they are, the overall price of the project went down from the back of the napkin estimate. And we're going to ask City Council just to make it an even number and round up a couple cents for an EDU charge of $12.50. And why $12.50? Because everyone that we talk to, whether it's the folks from Pogemeyer or other communities, say that's the absolute right thing to do. It allows for future planning. That $12.50 has some built-in mechanisms to allow for additional planning. Again, we're just addressing 16 million of the $120 to $130 million need of the city. We're just putting in the spine of the water sewer project here. It also allows for continuing maintenance of infrastructure. Right now, we're dealing with a project over, an issue over on Lee and Alice. It was about a little over 2.5 weeks ago, we started getting calls from residents in the 600 block of Alice saying, you know, hey, we've got a really bad sewer gas smell in our house, and when things go down the drain, they don't go down properly. So our city crews went out there and took a camera down a pipe that we had images of from 5-6 years ago, and it was perfect then. Well, now we've got a section that's collapsed, and it's causing all sorts of issues. There's roots that have come into that section. So here the next couple of weeks, we hired a third-party contractor to come in and make some needed repairs to that area. There's about 300 feet of sewer line that's going to need to be replaced. Again, something we didn't plan for just in general throughout the city. Caveat to that, another great thing about all of this, that sewer line isn't in the boulevard or out in the street, it's in everybody's backyard. So there's 4 or 5 houses on Alice and 1 or 2 houses on Lee that are going to be pretty messy for the next couple months until we can get back in the springtime and plant grass. And then of course, the all-encompassing what's next. Lakeshore Drive was something that was unanticipated. We didn't realize there was going to be high water and that much erosion. There's going to be something else. With an infrastructure the age of ours in the city of Port Clinton, there's always that what next. We're getting close to some issues in aging on our water tower. Although our sewage treatment plant is relatively new in the grand scheme of things, it's still 20 years old, it's going to have some issues. So there's going to be that what's next. And at $12.50 per month per EDU will allow us to address the engineering needs of the unknown what's next. So moving forward, we anticipate that at the next city council meeting, you're going to have 3 ordinances in front of you. One of those is going to ask you to adopt the EDU charge. The second one is going to ask for authorization for engineering services to put Project B in place. And then the third one is going to ask you to authorize Mr. Colston to go out and find the funding sources, the loan funding sources. We've somewhat identified those already, but those are the 3 ordinances that are going to come to you at the next council meeting in anticipation that you take action by the end of this calendar year. So after moving forward, we've got to move some dirt. And we're hoping that the timetable we've set will allow the EDU charge to appear with the first bill in January. This will allow the folks from Pogemeyer to do the engineering that they need to do. Hopefully by the end of 2021, we'll be able to let bids. And then in 2022, we'll begin construction, and Jack has estimated 18 to 24 months for phase B of this particular project. All along while we're doing this, we're still going to be working with Pogemeyer on Project A to get that information to you in a timely fashion to get it on the ballot, either this spring or in November. Any questions? Fellas, anything you'd like to add to the discussion? Do you want to explain an EDU?
Sure, can I do it from here, Mayor?
Yeah, talk loud so they can get you on camera.
Okay, so an EDU is an equivalent dwelling unit, which essentially equates to a single-family residence. So what we do is we use an EDU as the basis for the calculation. Then anybody who uses more than a single-family residence, that would be commercial, institutional, industrial, they would pay a proportionate share on the basis of how many EDUs their flow is equivalent to. So let's say I owned a grocery store and I had my flow in my grocery store was equivalent to, let's say, 3 EDUs. So I would pay 3 times EDU on a monthly charge. So the equivalent dwelling unit is really just an EPA basis for determining a fair value. So Put-in-Bay, Ottawa County, a number of people use the EDU charge as the basis of their, that marries itself with the Ohio EPA criteria. Anything else?
January 1st, is that projected for the water bills to go up to $12.50 for, is that everyone in PC or is that for everybody using Port Clinton water?
Everybody using Port Clinton water and sewer. And if they just use the sewer portion, it will just be the sewer portion of the EDU. If they just use the water, it'll be the water portion of the EDU. Talking with Mr. Hatfield, he feels most comfortable, again, we're starting from zero, to build the pool to pay back the loan that we're going to be taking out at the end of this calendar year. Mr. Colston, did I neglect anything?
No. You've done it about 10 times now.
And I know this is very poor, and I'm not sure I forwarded this, and my apologies if I didn't forward this to council, but there's the map of what's proposed. I took the liberty of breaking this down into 4 or 5 different slides, and I created my own titles here, so that's just nothing, showing the proposed work. And again, I'm sorry, I don't know what the color coordinated schemes are represent.
Hey, Mike, I think the thing to point out is that the actual improvements from when we did the public meetings throughout the summer and fall of 2019, they really haven't changed dramatically. We just might have tweaked some things a little bit, but again, I think what we presented to the public is still pretty much what we're proposing to do.
These guys met with Eric and Dave, Water and Sewer Department, a dozen times,
Yeah.
if not more.
That's also, Doug is not right, you guys tweaked a little bit some things, but they're just very minor.
Yes, yeah, sanitary sewer and storm sewer portions of the project generally stayed the same as we previously proposed. The most changes have been to the water line portion, and basically it was just reprioritizing which water lines Eric wanted to have replaced first on the project. We still have this same approximate total lineal footages for each portion of the project, so we're holding the cost that way.
You know, again, for council's benefit, you know, your utility staff has been just super to work with. They've been very committed to this, really responsive in terms of things or information we've asked. And you know, they've had a seat at the table the whole way through, so we really appreciate their efforts through all of this.
Mayor Snyder, I have a hard copy of the map that you forwarded to me. And I went ahead and highlighted the streets that overlay the portions of Part B, the sewer and water, and I'll pass that around to council so they can see. Only the portions in yellow, which I think is everything that you indicated, Doug, was the gray underline.
Yes.
Those are the roadways that would be considered.
It might be pertinent to point out that the water lines that are being replaced for 2 different primary reasons. One is to make sure you replace lines that are the worst conditions, that are problematic for you, that create problems to provide service to the community and do an emergency, can backflow to a certain area to minimize the number of residents. And the second purpose of that is to improve the fire flow in some of those areas, the small diameter water lines, so that we create good fire flows within 1,000 feet of each residence. So that's kind of how we prioritize the projects. That gives you the lowest fire insurance rate you can get with the current department.
Doug, I know this isn't a sexy topic, but can you talk about the importance of the spine of the sanitary and storm sewer separation and how that leads to capacity at the treatment plant?
Yeah, the sanitary sewer portion of the project, that the backbone of it, if you will, is a further extension of the trunk main that you've been installing over the past few years. Your recent Jefferson Street project did a short further extension of that trunk main. It's an 18-inch sewer. It stopped short on Jefferson Street at 3rd Street. So we'll be extending that first as part of the sewer project, further down Jefferson, and then we'll have, I believe, one branch run of 15-inch sewer that I believe is going down 4th Street, 3rd or 4th Street. And that's to pick up a sanitary pumping station that you have on the east side of the community. And then from there, we'll have 8-inch and 10-inch branch sewers
back into your combined sewer system and gets mixed in with the stormwater. We'll have all that separated by this project. Will allow you to extend sanitary sewers east and west, if you will, to supply or to replace sewers and make them sanitary sewers, not combined sewers. So you have to have a mechanism, a trunk sewer, if you will, in place so you can run a sanitary sewer down a street if you want to make improvements to that street and get rid of the combined sewer and go all to separated sanitary. So that's the side benefit of the spine project, if you will, along with the same thing for storm.
Yeah, the trunk sewer that we're extending, the downstream portion of it that was installed over the past few years, that is a direct line to your wastewater treatment plant. It does not have any storm flow that enters into that sewer. It's all just strictly sanitary sewer at this point, so.
If no one else has any questions, gentlemen, any other comments? I turn it back to the council meeting.
Mr. Hill, do you have any other questions? We'll just go down the line for a first round.
No, sir.
Mrs. Gilman?
No, sir.
Mrs. Hovis?
No.
Ms. Phillips?
Thank you, Mr. Creel. The assessment, is that on appraised value or is on street value of the homes?
For this particular project, Project B,
Yes.
there's no property tax assessment at all. It's all based on EDU. A residential unit will have one EDU,
That's
so $12.50.
That's good, thank you.
Ms. Phillips, any other questions?
No, that was my only one.
Mrs. Hickman?
No, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. I have a couple. Council, first, I'll send you this map electronically so you can see what roads be included. I do have one question. So South Ottawa Drive, which we all know is Bay or Portage Township, can we do the water improvements because that is our system, our district, but leave the road portion to the township?
We should be able to.
I like the sound of that.
That's a good point.
Yeah, we would, in that case, we'd end up with a trench patch for all the service crossings on that street. And I can't tell you off the top of my head if we're actually in the tree lawn area with the utility main or in the pavement on that street.
Okay.
You said South Ottawa?
Yeah, the dead ends right before Route 2.
Yeah, that was just about 2 weeks ago. That was a change in our project. We shifted Ottawa, I believe between Alice and 6th Street. We shifted that portion down to South Ottawa due to some recent water line issues that Eric had on that street. So we have not done topo on that and haven't looked at the actual location for the utility main on that portion of the road.
What are the estimated design costs from this point forward on Project B?
They have not changed since our original proposal to you, or estimate. And let's see. Yeah, we have completed the preliminary work. That estimate will not change. That is at $159,465. And then our design fees for the remaining portion is $588,700.
Doug, can you repeat the last number? I missed it, but misspelled Y.
$588,700 for final design fees.
Would you repeat the first one too?
Yes. $159,465.
Thank you.
Mr. Beal, that would be up to bid.
So the ordinance for the EDU, which would be the next, the slide indicated would be the next council meeting. Council have discussed with Mr. Snyder and Mr. Holston some affordability considerations, which some of you on the finance committee will remember that was my concern back in March when this was coming up. Since the pandemic is still here, researching what other communities, like Ashland, Ohio, has a reduced rate for water, not a supplemental charge like this would. But I would like to work with the law director on some type of affordability offerings for senior citizens and others who may be on the lower income, probably low-income senior citizens who would probably love the project in years and years, but probably won't be able to realize the full value of it. Since it is a considerable increase to the water bill on top of the base charge now, which I think is $66, is that right? For $66.85, thank you. So I hope everyone on council will be comfortable with that. Can we talk about our warranties available for any portions of this work, water line, sewer line, specifically roads?
Roadway warranties?
Any portion of the project
Okay,
from the construction?
The sewer and water portion, as well as the resurfacing, will have a 1-year guarantee as part of the construction contract. If you wanted to consider an extended warranty, we could put that into the contract, but that would typically drive up the construction cost.
What do most Ohio communities do? Do they know to ask about an extended warranty, for example?
No, not too often. Sometimes we will require extended warranties if we run into some issues during construction, but typical municipal projects do carry a 1-year warranty for this type of work. You do run into some equipment warranties that will be extended to 5 and 10 years, but those are beyond the actual terms of the construction contract typically, and they're provided by the supplier rather than the contract.
They're more water and wastewater related.
Okay.
And then roof warranties could be extended. That's the other item that typically you see a typical extension of a warranty, our roofs.
Can you talk to me more about the road option?
And on the road options,
Yeah.
there really aren't any. The difference is, as Doug indicated, you ask a contractor to give you a longer warranty, they'll throw a dollar number in there, and they'll increase the cost. And, the question is, will he need to access that or not? If he doesn't, he can make more money, right? So, it's not very common. Now, if he made a mistake, and if we find some defect in it, that's different. We go after the contractor beyond the 1-year period and try to take him to task. But we do have statute of limitations and things that we have to deal with. But for the most part, we go after a contractor who actually did something flawed, was found out 2 or 3 years later, and litigate. So there's a bond that protects them for the 1-year period. If the contractor goes out of business, the performance bond comes into play 1 year after the construction to help solve the problem. That's the state law, basically, for all contracts that we do.
But, so just on, say, an extended warranty for the road portion, what premium is usually associated with that?
I don't know, because it doesn't happen very often. I don't know.
I mean, is it 2X or less than that? I understand I'm asking you on the fly.
I would say
Estimate, but-
something like maybe 25%. I don't know. We really don't see that very often at all. Because they're kind of driven by the state law, and so then that premium would be, if you have a bad experience with a contractor, we might ask for an extended warranty or extended bond. Now, they have payment bonds and performance bonds that can go beyond 1 year, that are cost to the contractor, and it varies, but it's, what would you say a bond cost would be?
Typically about 4% of construction, or the amount the item that it's actually guaranteed.
For the bond, so if you extend it out 2 years or 3 years instead of 1 year, that would proportionally go up to, I'm guessing that might double, but it'd be only a 4% bond.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from any members sitting in the chairs? Any from the audience? Mr. Noter?
Yes, let's go back to the definition of the EDU. I think you said something to the effect, and I may not have it correct, but that a residential dwelling is one EDU, is that?
That is correct.
Okay, so if it's an apartment building or, condominium or whatever, what happens there?
Right, so condominiums and apartments are defined under the EPA legislation. They have a little bit of a reduced EDU from a single EDU at times, depending on the number of bedrooms they might have incorporated. So, apartments used to be, let's say there were two-bedroom apartments, so it may be 2/3 was typically mobile homes, condos. Condos are almost always equivalent to a normal house because they're 2 or 3 bedroom units, typically very similar to a house. And mobile homes actually anymore, they tend to lean more toward a single EDU as well. They used to have reduced EDUs. But apartments are a little different than that. And it's defined in the EPA book or wherever the regulations that we would use. So it's slightly discounted.
What about someone's home that they actually have an apartment suite or whatever you want to call it in? What happens to the EDU rating?
So it'd be a home with a true, a rental room, or would it be a true, like, duplex?
Well, let's do both, yeah.
Okay, so, Julie, I don't know, how do you address that today?
Duplex would be 2 EDUs.
2 units for sure. But what about a room? Is there such a thing anywhere?
No, like you mean like a bed and breakfast thing?
No, I mean someone who has in their home that they rent out, a room or maybe even, a room with a kitchenette or something like that.
If we find, so if we're renting out a space that they can live on their own without going into the other space, that would be considered a 2 EDUs as a duplex. If it's something just a room and they're using all the same facilities as someone else, then that would be just a 1 EDU.
Okay, thank you.
That's pretty typical.
Any other comments or questions?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Mayor Snyder, any last words?
Thank you. Look forward to working with you to get this going.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
We'll move on to public comment if there was anyone signed up for public comment, or feel free to yell out now. Since we're so small. Okay. President of Council is out, that's why I'm sitting here today. Mayor Snyder, your report, please.
Thank you, Mr. President Pro Tem. Special thanks to Bob and Linda Snyder, spelled differently, from Catawba, and Gill Construction. Our Christmas tree will arrive later this week for North Madison Street, donated again by the Snyders with Gill Construction bringing it into town. We wanted to have it in place in time and decorated in time for the downtown Sip and Shop, which will take place on November 21st from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Council, you may have received, and the supervisors that are in this room, you may have received an email earlier today from Mrs. Ostheimer regarding the Salvation Army. The city has signed up to ring the bell on December 12th. I didn't write down the times, but contact Sandy if you're interested and have the time to ring the bell for the Salvation Army. I had a really neat email the other day from Santa Claus. He and Mrs. Claus want to come back to Port Clinton. He heard so much about Operation Loud Bunny with our Easter Bunny tour of Port Clinton, he really wanted to ride on a fire truck. And so we coordinated for Operation Loud Rudolph. That's going to take place on Sunday, December 6th at 2 p.m. Sunday, December 6th, 2 p.m., Mr. and Mrs. Claus will be in a fire truck, escorted around town, the same route that the bunny and the car shows and all the other COVID-related parades have taken. Leaf pickup started earlier this week throughout the community. It's gone fairly well. limited in the number of crews that are out there. They're trying to get a better part of a ward a day, working their way through the city. Mr. Colson and the fellows out there collecting the leaves have just asked that you rake the leaves to the boulevard, don't put them in the street, because that causes some issues if it should rain before they can get to them, clogging up drains and so forth. And please make sure that the leaves are free of any debris. No sticks, no twigs, certainly no trash, no bricks. All of those things have caused problems to the equipment in the past. We'll continue the leaf pickup until the majority of the leaves are either blown into the lake or gone. If you haven't driven down Perry Street, we've been talking about this for a while, but the Lighthouse Conservancy has paved the new walkway in the area around the Derby Pond. It looks very, very nice. I'm not sure if there's any finishing work that needs to be done, but the majority of the asphalt is down. Yesterday, I received an email from the Greater Port Clinton Area Arts Council. They have submitted a lease proposal to the city for 317 West Perry to create the art center that we've been talking about for quite some time. Mrs. Gilman, Mr. Colston, Mrs. Schenker and I are going to be meeting next week along with Mr. Taylor, the zoning inspector, to review that lease, discuss it with the Greater Port Clinton Area Arts Council, and then bring it back for you all to give the okay. So I'm very, very, very excited about that. That's something near and dear to my heart, and I think it's going to be a great addition to our downtown community. Tomorrow, City Hall offices will be closed. I don't know, but if there are any veterans in the audience today, would you please stand up? Tomorrow happens to be Veterans Day, as we all know. I know there's at least one veteran, but I don't see him standing up. There's two. So, gentlemen, thank you very much for your service. Thank you. What branch, sir?
Maybe.
Navy? Sir?
Waves.
You were the Air Force. With that, I thank you very much.
On the Derby Pond, there's a gap at the end. It looks like it's aligned with the midline of Bolton Street. Can you talk to me about why that might be?
Yeah, Black Swamp said we could not do any asphalt on that property over there. It came back up again yesterday. We had it surveyed again to make sure that they did not encroach. The Lighthouse Group, John Smothers specifically, is trying to get some kind of permeable type asphalt, he calls it, to go between, which would have to be okay by the Black Swamp to be able to put between the Derby Pond and the marsh.
To finish
That
the
would
loop,
stay
yeah.
stone where you see the stone. That's as far as they were allowed with the parameters of that property.
Got it. So right now it'll look like that for a while.
For a
till it's
while,
resolved, right?
yes,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you. Auditor's not here, treasurer's not here, but the dock tax number, are you ready? It's $155,000, 181. I'm sorry, $155,181.01. That tax number, $28,400 even. Law Director, Mrs. Schenker.
Thank you, Mr. President Pro Tem. Actually, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
The bed tax is the higher number and the dock tax is the lower number.
Did I write it backwards?
Yes.
I
The tax
apologize.
is there.
My error.
Switch that, please, thank you.
I was like, wow, Doc could just.
Yeah. I know.
Where did all these bucks come from? This is awesome.
I just
But
read things mindlessly, I don't think.
other than that, nothing additional tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for the correction. Mr. Colston, anything from you tonight?
Just a little, Mayor covered most of everything. He talked about the tree coming. We have Gift of Light trees coming. There's 15 of them will be at Adams Street Park again. We'll put them up the week of Thanksgiving. The chamber will send out the information on that, pay for the tree, vote for the best decorated tree. I want to thank Ms. Osheimer and the chamber for helping us put the lights around all the poles here in town. We did that on Friday. Was that Friday last week?
Yes.
So, other than that, thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Committee reports for economic and community development. Just the flag competition will be open until December 4th. There's an e-link at portclinton.org, the city's website, and on the city Facebook. So please take a look at that and vote. There's 3 great finalists. Any other committee chairs have anything?
No.
Thank you. We'll move to ordinances, second readings, as there are no third readings, ordinances and resolutions. Clerk, will you please read ordinance 2620 for its second reading?
Ordinance number 26-20, an ordinance to approve October 2020 replacement pages to the Port Clinton codified ordinances and declaring an emergency.
Council, any action on ordinance 2620? Seeing none, we move to business from the floor. Mrs. Gilman.
Thank you, Mr. President Pro Tem. Would you like to go back and approve the correspondences?
Is that a motion to approve the correspondence? Thank you. Thank you, and seconded by Ms. Phillips.
And then,
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. The correspondence is approved, stated on the agenda.
thank you, Mr. President Pro Tem.
Thanks, Ms. Katz.
Yeah, just a couple things. This Friday, the 13th, there is free COVID testing out at the Idaho County Fairgrounds from 1 to 6 p.m. I'd like, if you guys would just spread the word amongst people on your Facebook pages, whatever you do to get it out there. People do not need an appointment. There's no cost for it. It's a great service that's being offered through the county. The Bistro 163 is having a Thanksgiving dinner along with United Way. The last day to RSVP for that is on the 18th of November. You can contact them, go to their Facebook pages. Both the Bistro and United Way have information on that. It's free to anybody. Another great thing that's happening in the community. And that is it. Nothing else, Mr. President Pro Tem.
Thank you. Mr. Hill.
Thank you, sir. Just wanted to thank all of you guys for the hard work on the city plan. It looks great. I know the city's behind it. Everybody's pretty excited. It's refreshing to have beautiful roads and great running water and sewer and all that good stuff. So thank you for all the work that all of you guys put forward in that. I also want to say, I think I told a few of you guys, but I will be moving out of Ward 2 on December 7th. I think we'll be closing on that. Happened a lot faster than what we thought. When I originally came on to council, that was not even a part of the future plans at all, and it's one of those things that happened. So I'm working with the committees to replace me for the last year of my term, but I just wanted to give a heads up. I have a few more meetings with you guys, and then I will be out of the ward. So I just wanted to say that, and we'll progress here in the next few weeks, and I'll fill in with once I have some updates on that. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Mrs. Hokus.
I want to thank the Pokemon group for your presentation. Thank you for your hard work. And I want to wish Mrs. Gilman a happy birthday. And that's all I have tonight.
Thank you. Ms. Phillips.
Thank you, Mr. President. I posted on Facebook about a week ago about when they were taking down the whole moms thing and cleaning it up, and the pictures that I put on there, we had over 500 people comment about how they liked what they saw. They were very pleased with it. One complaint only, and I did address that, but I just think it was very popular this summer. It looked great, and I expect to see it again next year, right? It's coming back next year? That's good. And then downtown looks very nice. We know we're just getting started for Christmas, but the whole candy cane thing, the new ones that are up in Aldovining, it looks great because they're white lights, and we're not competing when people make them red, white, and blue and everything else. And it just looks so much nicer downtown with the new streets, and there's like a whole different attitude. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips. Mrs. Hickman.
I also, echoing everybody, want to thank you gentlemen for coming and giving us this presentation tonight, and for all of you that have worked so hard on this. Julie, I know you put a lot of hours into this. Ms. Shanker, Mayor Snyder. I just really appreciate, Mr. Colston, sorry, I don't want to leave you out. I just really appreciate all the hard work, and like Brian said, this is going to be awesome to see, new roads in our community. I mean, when you drive down Jefferson Street, Madison now, it's just incredible. So I can only imagine what our community is going to look like when this project is finished. And I hope that we can all work hard together to get our community members as excited about it as we all are. And I think it's going to take a lot of education on our parts to really let them know how important this project is and what it means to our community. But I just really want to thank you for coming out here. And my office, Morgan Realty Group, decorated the trees downtown today, and we made 4 of them gnomes. So make sure, I call them trolls, but they're gnomes. So make sure when you're out looking at the trees, there are 4 of them that are gnomes, and they're super, super cute. So that is all tonight. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mrs. Hickman. Council, the clerk asked me to alert you additionally here tonight. The next meeting is November 24th. It will be here, as previously stated, at the new 6 o'clock start time. There is a November 20th deadline for any announcements that need to be made leading up to that meeting, whether it's committees or anything else. So anything you might want to see a public announcement November 23rd, which will be a Monday or a Tuesday, get it in to the clerk by email, please, by November 20th in the morning.
Yeah, I'll be on vacation, but I will be attending the meeting. That's why.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from anyone in the room? Mr. Snyder's finger's pointing at somebody.
Are we going to read the ordinance?
What ordinance?
What?
We did.
You started, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where the heck was I?
I'm not really sure.
I thought you started to do it, then she jumped over to correspondence. Okay. All right. Then I'll just come back to my world.
Council had no action on the ordinance upon its second reading, so we moved right along.
Thank you.
Sure. Anybody else miss anything, including myself or anyone else? Thank you. Ms. Phillips, do you want to wrap it up?
Mr. President Pro Tem, I move this august body adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, second?
I will second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hickman. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We are adjourned.